Hello, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Bullspit podcast. I look forward to diving into this past weekend's Maverick days in New York. It was a great turnout. The crowd was raucous. The team picked up some big wins because of it. Mavericks are on a roll. And, of course, we're going to touch on our top three team performances from this past weekend, top three rider performances, and top three bull performances. And then we'll dive into the team discussion, get into each team's successes and failures and what we can see from them in the coming weeks. And, of course, we'll give them each a grade. Please follow, like, comment, Bullspit Pod on TikTok, Bullspit Podcast on YouTube. Let's get to it. The teams were all over the place this past weekend. Really unpredictable stuff going on. Some big surprises, some big disappointments. We start out at the number 3 team performance from this past weekend. The New York Mavericks make their debut in their top team performances segment. They go 260 and a quarter and send the Outlaws packing with 0. Hudson Bolton showed up big time for them this weekend, getting 2 rides to really get them going in both of their team rounds against the Outlaws and against the Freedom. He gets their only ride. So look forward to more from him. And at number 2 on our top team performances from this past weekend's Maverick days, we are going with the Carolina Cowboys. They put up 342.5 on Friday. They ride 4 of 5 bulls, really ride 4 of 4. They did have a shoot clock malfunction, or disqualification. So 4 of 4 that they rode. They get actually another 88.5 from Ethan Winkler in the shootout round. So a total of 5 bulls rode that actually got out of the chute of 5. So pretty big weekend from them. Look forward. They continue to dominate. They have all the pieces. It's going to be an exciting year for the Carolina Cowboys. And our number 1 team performance from this past weekend in New York goes to the Nashville Stampede. 0-2 last week. They go 2-0 this week. Put up 345.5 on Saturday, getting 4 rides. Alan De Souza has been a machine for them. He's a vet, and he gets things done for them. He continually takes those extra shootout rides also. He means business. Savano Aves got a big ride also. Cody Teal's been getting some good rides for them. And they put up 345.5 on Saturday for our number 1 performance. Next up is the top 3 rider performances from this past weekend in New York. At number 3, we are going with Alan De Souza. We talked about him a little bit in our past segment. He has really been the engine for the Nashville Stampede. He puts up 88.5 on Saturday. Big ride for him. He's inching his way up in the MVP standings also. He's been Mr. Reliable. Good for him. At number 2, we go from the vet to a younger guy, Ethan Winkler, 88.5, also in the shootout route on Friday to win the day for the Cowboys. Not bad for a 6th man. He doesn't get too many chances because that starting 5 has just been dominant. But when he does, he's putting up the numbers also. Good for him. See if he can get some more rides maybe in the team matchups. And at number 1, we have Jose Vitor Leme. He goes 91.25 in the shootout on Saturday to win the day for the Gamblers. He is on absolute fire. He is number 2 in the MVP standings now. The Gamblers are on fire also. He is a huge part of that. But he adds to his 90-point legacy rides. He's getting up there close to the top. We'll see if he can break it here in the next couple of years. Let's talk about our bovine athletes, the top 3 bull performances from this past weekend. At number 3, Cy Young makes quick work of Bob Mitchell for 44.75 on Saturday. He's been putting up big numbers, very impressive bull, a very good-looking bull, and he puts up another show, 44.75. Our number 1 bull performance is actually a 2-way tie between Riding Salty and Preacher's Kid. Riding Salty conquers Crimber with 45.5. John Crimber had been on absolute fire, covering everything he's rode. Tall task for Crimber. Riding Salty gets it done. And Preacher's Kid also 45.5. He throws off the Mavericks on Saturday night. 2 big-time bull performances, great performances to watch. Really showing us that the bull industry is in good hands. Let's jump into our team discussion. We'll touch on each team and give them a grade. 2-6 on game picks this past week. Tough weekend. It was very extraordinary. Did not give the Mavericks enough credit or respect. They got it done big time. And the Rattlers go 0-2 again. They're getting close. Overall, 16-15-1 for the season. See if we can get back on track next weekend. We're going to start with the Carolina Cowboys. They go 1-0 this past weekend, beat the Rattlers, ride 5 out of 5 Bulls really on the day. 1-6 is completely dangerous. What a fun season so far for them. Hopefully they can continue that success. 1-0 this weekend. I'm giving them an A+. Next up are Arizona Ridge Riders. They were 0-2 this weekend. A very disappointing weekend for them. They lose to the Freedom on night 1, the Outlaws on day 2. 2 battles, they put up some fight, but just not enough there. Two tough teams, they weren't, shoo-ins by any mean, but now they're tied for 6th in the standings after starting out really hot this season. We'll see if they can bounce back. 0-2 weekend, we're giving them a C-. Austin Gamblers continue their roll. They go 1-0 this weekend. They beat the Thunder. Ramon de Lima has become reliable, and Jose is dominating right now. The Gamblers still will get back Dalton Castle next week, we hope, at the Stampede dates. Once they're at full health, look out. This team can compete with the best. Look forward to some matchups between them and the Cowboys further down the line. They go 1-0. I'm going to give them an A. Kansas City Outlaws go 1-1 this weekend. They lose to the Mavericks in an upset, something that I wouldn't even honestly entertained. And they beat the Ridge Riders on Saturday. They do get a bounce back win. Big of them. Sandro Batista has been on another level for them. He has really risen to the occasion. Even got put in the closing role this past weekend. Unfortunately, it didn't matter when he rode. Casio Diaz is in a slump. 6 straight buck-offs. They're moving him around, trying to get him more comfortable. He'll be back. He's a competitor. He's a hard worker. And we'll see if they can bounce back. 1-1 weekend, I'm going to give them a B-. The Missouri Thunder have one game this past weekend. They go 0-1 and lose to the Gamblers. They put up a fight, though. Briggs Madsen needs to be in the lineup. I'll die on that hill. He has really shown up in the team series, put up another 88-plus point ride. Paulo Eduardo Risotto has really cemented himself in the closing role, but they got to have more. Bujo Campbell, Dawson Gleaves, Grayson Cole, Felipe Furlan, they got to have other people adding in on that. They put up a fight, but they lose. 0-1 weekend. I'm going to give them a B-. Very disappointing. Texas Rattlers are next up. 0-2 this past weekend. They lose to the Cowboys and the Stampede. 2 tougher teams. That midweek trade didn't really get it going like hopefully we were starting to think. That might be a fire starter for them. Just couldn't quite get it done. Nobody to rely on currently. Who's going to step up for them? They got to have somebody step up. 0-2 weekend. I'm going to give them a D. And sadly, they find themselves last place in the standings. Nashville Stampede. Talk about a roller coaster. 0-2 last weekend. They bounced back with 2-0. Back and forth with the Stampede. Big Saturday, though. Put up 345-plus points on our top team performance of the weekend. They get 4 or 5 rides. Alan De Souza has been the man. He's the staple. Silvano Alves, the vet, he's been closing things out. Still very reliable. Cody Teal's been getting some big rides from them. Almeida's been getting big rides for them. So they bounce back. Justin McBride, it looks like it has them right in the right mindset. They're not giving up. Big weekend from them. I'm going to give them an A. Florida Freedom go 1-1 this weekend. They lose to the Mavericks. They would go rideless. The Mavericks only put up 1 ride, but they get the win. Again, no rides on Saturday. John Crimber finally gets bucked off. They do beat the Ridge Riders on Friday, which was a big win for them. A so-so weekend from them. It's just hard to really tell what this team. Lots of inconsistency. It's a young season still. A quarter of the way through, or a third of the way through now. We'll see how they bounce back. 1-1 weekend from then. I'm going to give them a B-. The Oklahoma Wildcatters go 0-1. It was honestly like they weren't even there. They were the first matchup on Friday. They lose to the Stampede. No qualified rides. It was a little weird. But the sky's not falling. They'll bounce back. JB Mooney will have those guys ready with the right mindsets. I already saw Clay Guyton, took another buckle on his way home. So they'll be good. They got the guys and some veteran presence. 0-1 weekend from them, C+. And I wanted to save for last, the New York Mavericks. They have made an amazing transformation from the first couple of weeks. I put out the stats last week. They've rode 6 of 35 out so far. Terrible 17% riding percentage. Way below everybody else. It was something that you feel like they couldn't overcome for long, and then they show up in New York. The crowd was crazy. They were ready to support their franchise. Like they said on the broadcast, New York shows up for their teams. They upset the Outlaws on Friday night, something, again, I didn't even really could happen. They get one ride on Saturday, which was tough, but it's enough to get the win against the Freedom. Hudson Bolton was a standout for me. I feel like he was kind of their fire starter this weekend. Cody Lostro has the guys rolling. The Mavs are someone that are not just a pushover, someone that they can just get looked past anymore. You have to account for them to make those rides, so you better be making the rides also. Big weekend from them. 2-0, A+. Well, guys, another weekend in the books in the PBR Team Series. Maverick Days was a big one. Again, we are looking forward to next weekend, Stampede Days in Nashville. August 16th through the 18th. We will be back to our 3-day event schedule with 12 matchups. Look forward to that. We have some teams rolling. We have some teams declining. Can the Ridge Riders and the Rattlers bounce back? Can the Gamblers or the Stampede make a run? Of course, as always, let me know. How do you feel your teams are doing? How the Riders are doing? The Bulls are doing? Let me know your thoughts on the first 4 weeks of the season. Follow us at Bullspit Pod on TikTok, Bullspit Podcast on YouTube, and Spotify and Instagram. I look forward to getting with you on Thursday, 5 p.m. Central, for the Stampede Days preview show. Until then, we will see you later.